I remember the day my first child was born. It was the middle of the night, 1:27 a.m. to be precise. My partner laid on the hospital bed, and when our child came out, there was so much joy in the room. The doctors, the nurses, the doula, me, my in-laws were outside waiting to meet our beautiful daughter. And when people looked at my baby girl, everything was beautiful. Everything was perfect. She was loved just because she was there. You matter. That's what we said to her. You're beautiful. That's what everyone believed. She's okay in who she is. And all this is just because she was there. Not because of anything she had done, not because of who she was now or who she'd be in the future, but just because she was. But that's not everyone's birth story. I wonder about mine. Everything I've been told suggests it was a joyous day. Here's this beautiful baby boy we named Luke. How precious, how beautiful. I imagine the way my parents looked at me was just with pure joy, pure love. I imagine the doctors, the nurses, family, friends, the pastors, people from church. I imagine that they all saw me as this beautiful, precious human being. Perhaps your birth was like that. You came out, whether through a vaginal delivery or cesarean section, you were brought into this world. And if you had the privilege, like me, to come from a home that wanted you, to have people who loved you, perhaps that was your story too. Regardless of who was standing in the room when you were born, regardless of how you came into this world, regardless of the people who conceived you, regardless of the people who knew you, who did or didn't love you, when you came into this world, billions of people on this planet believed that you were born as someone beautiful and wonderful and amazing. Growing up, I was told to be kind. I was told to love other people. It was what Jesus taught. In fact, Jesus stood up against the people who used their religion to shut others out. He stood in that gap. He reached out to those who were trampled. I never heard stories about Jesus choosing hate over love. Jesus allowed the man who would betray him to give Jesus a kiss on the cheek. Jesus was so filled with love for all people, he allowed himself to be subjected to hate, ridicule, abuse, and a horrific death. Whether or not you believe the stories about Jesus, I think we can agree that this man was an impressive figure in history. He stood against social norms. He stood against the hate that was being spread by the religious people. He opened his hands and arms and doors. In 5th grade, I called the teacher's assistant a dum-dum, like the sucker. I got written up for it. Another day, I yelled the name of my favorite plant, Pussy Willow. I was on a field trip, and I had to sit out for the remainder of the day. I had never heard the first half of that plant's name as a slur or something inappropriate. My teacher told me, Luke, it's like calling someone grass. You just don't do it. Then I turned the news on in 2016 to hear a recording of a man saying, I didn't even wait, and when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. I wonder how many of my teachers who wrote me up in 5th grade for the things I said, or the church leaders who chastised me for talking too much, I wonder how many of them joined the crowds that said, nah, that's just locker room talk. I remember when I first gave myself permission to try on clothes I'd always believed weren't for me. Clothes that when I saw them on a woman, I loved. And when I said, Luke, you could buy that and try it on, I remember the fear in my body. What would people think? I remember when I bought a wig and I put it on and I looked in the mirror and I wept. People will judge me. People will hate me. And you know what I experienced over the years? I did experience an outpouring of love from a lot of people. And I remember when a family member texted me telling me I should see a Christian counselor that she could recommend. I remember when a family member compared my best friend, life partner, and wife to a demon. I remember when a parental figure stopped showing up to things. I remember when I found out my church would no longer let me play music on Sundays or volunteer with the youth group. Each time, I was surprised. To which a family member suggested, maybe you should stop being surprised, Luke. But I don't know if I can do that. You see, I don't believe people want to hate me. I don't believe people want to be unkind. We are hardwired as a species to connect with one another, to love and be loved. It's hard though. When I walk out of my door, I don't know how people are going to treat me. Will that person hold the door open for me too? If I walk into the men's room, will someone in there think this is the perfect time to teach me a lesson? If I smile and wave at a child, will their parents assume I'm a predator? When I'm invited to speak and then they hear my work is now about serving the LGBTQ plus community and they rescind that invite, is it because I'm not like them? Virtually every room I walk into, it's in the back of my mind, am I safe here? Today I received a message from a family member. When I saw the message popped up on my phone, my body got weak. I was scared to read it. I took a moment to breathe and then I read it. It said, "Luke, the path you're on is not one we can share, nor does it lead to our home. In other words, I'm no longer welcome to visit them. Just because I've grown, just because I've faced rejection so many times, and just because I have an incredible network of humans who do love me, for me, it doesn't make the pain of rejection go away. If you find yourself, for whatever reason, when you walk down the street, when you walk into a store, when you walk into a group of people, if you find yourself wondering if you'll be accepted for who you are as you are, I want you to hear this. You're not alone. You're not alone." I know we hear this and lots of people say, we're not alone. And yet, boy, that feels real. And that's the lie of loneliness. Our brains, our human brains succumb to this lie that there's something wrong with us, something wrong with who we are, and that we're the problem. Perhaps your brain's like mine and it's told you that I'm unlovable. I spent years hating who I am. I spent years believing I was too much, that who I was the problem. I was told, "Luke, you're too loud, too bossy, too talkative, too intense, too contrarian, too much," and the list goes on. If people have told you that you're too fill in the blank, you're in good company. You matter. You're beautiful and you're okay. Who you are is a gift to this world. And if your brain is telling you that you're anything less than wonderful, know that's something a lot of us face, and perhaps most. And if you're lonely, if you feel like you're alone in this world, you're with more people than we perhaps can even comprehend. This morning, I read a New York Times article by U.S. Surgeon General Vivek H. Murthy, and he wrote, "At any moment, about 1 out of every 2 Americans is experiencing measurable levels of loneliness. This includes the introverts and extroverts, the rich and the poor, the young and the old." There are all kinds of forms of help. First and foremost, being mental health professionals. There are also a lot of people who do love you and who would love you if they met you. I love you. If you wake up and getting out of bed feels scary, if you wonder who is going to hate you today, who is going to reject you, you're not alone. If when you walk into a restaurant, you wonder if you'll be treated with kindness, you're not alone. If you're worried that you're not safe walking out the door, you're not alone. Here's what I do know. You are beautiful. You are okay. You matter. And the reason for all that's just because you're you. Whether or not you were loved by the people who birthed you or raised you, this I believe beyond the shadow of any doubt to be true. You matter, you're beautiful, you're okay, and there are no qualifications. There's no because of this or that, no conditions. You're a beautiful human because you're you. And I know this is so much easier to say than to believe and know. I will walk with you on this road. I will give everything I have until my last dying breath to spreading the message that you are good and beautiful and okay and who you are as you are. No ifs, no ands, no buts, no qualifications. Just because you're you. And I love you. Let me say it again. I love you. So when the lies creep in and suggest that you are alone, that you are unloved, know that they are just that, lies. They're just lies. Lies, lies, lies. We don't stand in hospital delivery rooms and say, "Oh, this baby is good, such a beautiful person," No, it's the opposite. Just look at how beautiful this baby is. I don't know why so many people lose sight of our beautiful shared humanity. I'm no expert on this. I just know that your beauty, what makes you precious, what makes you you, that's your magic. Not conforming to what someone else thinks you should be, not living a lie and trying to appease other people, because there's no joy in that. I don't care if you just came out of the womb, if you're 20 years old or 120. I don't care if you have $1 billion or zero. You're beautiful because you're you. You matter because you're you. And you're okay in who you are because you're you. I love you. I love you. I love you.